Peace to the people from all diasporas, right? How's everybody doing? Ever. YouTube is receiving enough video to remain smooth stream as such viewers will expect. Is not receiving enough video to maintain. I guess it's stalling out on my YouTube. I'll upload it. If it ain't good, I'll just upload it. So how's everybody doing over here at Twitch and also on Facebook? Right? So we in the building. And we are here to drop jewels. On this one right here, we'll be explaining how the God of the Old Testament is Sargon the Great, the emperor of the Akkadian Empire. Pardon me real quick here. This will be a quick second. I'll just clock out real quick. I'm on the clock. Right, hold on a minute. Okay, so we're in the building, people. Right. In this, like I said, we will be addressing Sumerian rule, the first empire, right? And so we understand that God is the formation of an empire. The completion would be the emperor who forms that empire. So Sargon is considered the first, and as we'll go through, we'll show how his connection is related to the Bible, the Old Testament. As I showed you, Julius Caesar and Augustus is the God and Jesus of the New Testament. And I will be showing you the Luciferian system after this right here. So let's get into this. Let me take myself away here. And so let's address the Sumerian rule. The first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis to Exodus, is about a slave who became a king, God. Adam was his slave name and Moses his king name. Moses in the face of God. The first recognized empire in history is the Akkadian Empire, which arose around 2334 BC in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. It was established by Sargon of Akkad, who united the various city-states of Sumer and expanded his territory through military conquest. The Akkadian Empire is considered the first true empire because it marked the first time a single ruler governed over a vast territory that included multiple cultures and people. So now we should understand what a God is. If we go back and we look into God and how it's talking about Lord and King, we should begin to see that this whole time, the people who's been following God has been really worshiping dead kings. The story. Birth legend. A Neo-Assyrian text from the 7th century BC, purporting to be Sargon's autobiography, asserts that The great king was the illegitimate son of a priestess. Only the beginning of the text, the first two columns, is known from the fragments of the three manuscripts. The first fragments were discovered in as early as 1850. Sargon's birth and his early childhood are described thus. My mother was a high priest. My father I knew not. My brothers of my father loved the hills. My city is, I don't know how to pronounce that, which is situated on the banks of the Euphrates. My high priestess mother conceived me, and secret she bore me. She set me in a basket of rashes with bruisement. I ended that there. Now we're gonna take that and we're gonna line it with the Bible. And there went a man of the house of Levi and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of brushes and daubed it with slime, with pitch, and she laid it in the flags by the river's banks. And his sister stood afar off to wait what would be done with him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her handmaiden walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, a babe wept. And she had compassion for him and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." And said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the maid went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee wages. And the women took the child and nursed it. And the child grew. She brought him into Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called him Moses. And she said, "Because I drew him out of the water." Now, as we can see, the correlation so far with Moses and Sargon, the story. So as we're going to keep going here, right? Sealed my lid. She cast me into the river which rose over me. The river bore me up and carried me to Aki and the drawer of water. Aki, the drawer of water, took me as his son and reared me. Aki, the drawer of water, appointed me as his gardener. Now, as we know, Adam was a gardener. While I was a gardener, Ishtar granted me her love, and for 4 years I executed kingship. Now, The serpent was more subtle than any beast in the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die, for God thou knowest that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed figs together and made themselves aprons. Now, I also read this text when I was doing the the God, making of a God, right? So this right here is in reference to Adam becoming a God, which would be Enlil. Enlil, Adam, was regarded as the inventor of the Matlock and patron of agriculture. So when we look at the story of Adam, this paying homage to the first system. You know, the first system was agriculture, and this is how, you know, the classation was set up amongst the people. So you had the workers, right, the lower class, and then you had those with different rankings as you went up. And this is how Adam had gained a stature because of his high intellect, which we would call Enlil. Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skin and clothe them. And the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hands and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore, the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the garden from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the edge of the Garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So it was to make him, he became a god, but he wasn't supposed to have a name that lived forever, but Enlil, lives on. Exodus 21:10, Moses' birth. Right? So we go the tribe of Levi. According to the Bible, the tribe of Levi is one of the tribes of Israel, traditionally descended from Levi, son of Jacob, the descendant of Aaron, who was the first high priest of Israel, were designated as the priestly class, right? So we have the Levi, who was designated as the priestly class, and as we know, this is from where Moses comes. The tribe of Moses was from the tribe of Levi and the nation of Israel. Moses' father and mother were both from the Levites, according to his birth story in the book of Exodus. The tribe consisted of descendants from Levi, the third son of Jacob and Leah. During Moses' ministries, he designated it as the priestly tribe. Again, we see how Moses is associated with this priestly tribe, and his mother was a part of it, right? And we also know the story of Sargon is also affiliated with this. The tribe of Levi was chosen as the priest due to their loyalty to God during the golden calf incident, which set them apart from the other tribes of Israel. Adam, Moses made God king's cupbearer. The Sumerian language Sargon legend contains a legendary account of Sargon's rise to power. It is the oldest version of the previously known Assyrian legend, discovered in 1974 in Nepal and first edited in 1983. Subsequently, scholarships questioned if the two fragments were actually a join and were even from two different texts. The initial translation has also been questioned. The extent visions are completed, but the surveying two fragments named Sargon's father, right, as La Imbium. After a Lycian, the text skips to Urzaba, king of Kish, who awakens after a dream and contents which are not revealed on the surviving portion of the tablets. For unknown reason, Urzaba appoints Sargon as his cupbearer. Soon after this, Urzaba invites Sargon to his chambers to discuss a dream of Sargon's involving the favor of the goddess Anan and the drawing of Urzaba by the goddess in the river of blood. Deeply frightened, Urzaba orders Sargon murdered by the hands of Balkiklia, the chief smith, but Anan prevents it, demanding that Sargon stop at the gates because of his being polluted with blood. When Sargon returned, Sargon became frustrated again. Now, we can look at, the story of King David, right? Where, Saul tried to get him bumped off, and we can look at this inside that because we know that this is the making of a king, right? Because, the whole Old Testament is about the formation of the Akkadian Assyrian Empire. Cupbearer. A cupbearer was historically and officially a high rank in royal court, whose duty was to pour and serve the drink at the royal table. On account of the constant fear of plot and intrigue, such as poisoning, a person had to be regarded as thoroughly trustworthy to hold the position. He would guard against poison in the king's cup and was sometimes required to swallow some of the drink before serving it. His confidential relationship with the king often gave him a position of great influence. The cupbearer is a historical role. For example, as an Egyptian hieroglyphic for cupbearer was used in the late 196 BC in the Rosetta Stone for the Canepi cupbearer area, daughter of Dionysus. Each Palethymic decree stating with a decree of Canopus honored a cupbearer. A much older role was appointed to Sargon of Akkad as cupbearer in the 23rd century BC. So as we can see how, we can see in the Bible, Adam was, brought into, God's, because he was taken out of his land, and placed into the Garden of Eden. So we can see this situation unfolding. Adam, Moses went from gardener to God's cupbearer. Genesis 40. The first mention of a cupbearer in the Bible is in the story of Joseph, where Pharaoh's cupbearer is called the chief cupbearer. The cupbearer is a high-ranking official who serves wine to the king and is responsible for guarding the king's person. The cupbearer's position is one of the greatest trust and responsibilities, as the kings feared intrigue and the possibility of poisoned food. The cupbearer's position is highly influential and important in the palace. The cupbearer was also in the king's presence, could be on friendly terms with the king, and could listen in on the king's most intimate conversations. Because of their trusted position, many cupbearers were able to exert political influence in the royal court. So, as we see, yes, right, it's pardon me, I got that shade. I'm looking at myself in the back there, the shadow. Okay, and the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons, servants of the king. And as we see with the Freemasonic pictures, they have the aprons on as well, being servants of the empire, in this case, the queen. Right. To Zaba, the king becomes frightened again and decides to send Sargon to King Lugal Zagasis of Urk with a message on a clay tablet asking him to slay Sargon. The legend breaks off at this point. Presumably missing sections describe how Sargon becomes king, right? Because this, he was a servant, a worker. He earned his way up the ranks, and then he becomes king. And as we know with Adam, he was not, he became, a very prominent person, but he wasn't supposed to have his own system. But then he winds up getting kicked out the Garden of Eden, and he starts his own people. The part of the interpretations of the king's dream was parallel to the biblical story of Joseph. The part about the letter with the carrier's death sentence has similarities to the Greek story of Belophonia and the biblical story of Europe. So as we can see, these stories, they might have, be associated with different people, but it's all all telling the same story, the formation of this empire. I am that I am is an English translation of the Hebrew phrase, right? Isha, Asha, Isha. I know I'm not saying it right. Anyway, it can also be translated as I am who I am. I will become what I choose to become. I am what I am. I will be what I will be. I create what I create. I am the existence one. King James Bible. And God said to Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shall thou say unto the children of Israel, I am have sent me unto you. He freed himself, he freed his people, and he became God, ruler of them. Right? So when we read in the story of Moses or the first 5 books of the Bible, we are actually reading the formation of the Akkadian Empire. The first 6 books are the steps to gain freedom. Adam was a captive turned slave placed in the garden, and the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel is how they kept us divided, house and field Negroes, right? The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering 5, but on Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry and his face was downcast. Moses was a runaway slave, revolutionist, who burned down the plantation. 11 years later, after Moses had grown up, he went out to his own people and took notice of their heavy burden. He saw the Egyptians beating up a Hebrew, one of his own people. 12 people looking around and seeing no one else, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. 13. Going out the next day, Moses noticed 2 Hebrew men fighting. Now we can see the story of Cain and Abel with them fighting, right? Going, Hebrew men fighting right in front of him. He told the one who was at fault, why did you strike your companion? Right? And it comes to pass in these days when Moses was grown, and that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smite thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? And intended thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. Now the priest of Median had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water filled, right? So, waters of the flock. So again, we can see the system unfolding. And Moses was content to dwell with the man and gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter. And she bore him a son and called him Gresham, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel's sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered in convenient with Abraham and Isaac and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. And Moses said unto God, behold, when I came unto the children of Israel, shall say to them, God of your father has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am has sent me unto you. He did it himself. He saw the wrong, and he decided to liberate his people by all means necessary. Moses was shown the three signs to prove that he was to lead the children of Israel to their redemption from slavery. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because setting up these signs is how they was able, to communicate with each other and be able to have stronger magic than the Pharaoh, right? Magic meaning, this impression over the people. So, Moses and his crew, went out and showed that they was unified as well. The preface directly credits the laws of King Ur-Nammak. See, now this is dealing with, Moses, and the Lord. So when we dealing with the commandments, you should look into the code of Ur-Nammu, right? So I'm not gonna after An and then Lil had turned over the kingship of Ur to Nana. At that time did Nan, son born of Nin's son, for his beloved mother who bore him in accordance with his principles of equality and truth. Then did Ur-Nanam, the mighty warrior, king of Ur, king of Sumer, in Akkad, by the might of Nan, lord of the city, in accordance with the true word of Utu, establish equality in the land and banish malacadation, violence, and strife, and set the monthly temple experience at 20 gur a barrel, 30 sheep, let's see here, surviving laws. I'm not going to go through that, right? The poem of Anan prefers the farmer, right? So you can look into the story of Anan, right? And that's all I'm end it with. And on this one, like I said, the purpose was to show you if you was around for the story of Jesus and you understand the empire, right? An emperor is God. So the first emperor would be Sargon, who established the Akkadian Empire, and then we get into the Roman Empire, who took down the Babylonian Empire, right? And so they established the um the Christian system. And next we will be exploring the Luciferian system, which comes out of Britain, Great Britain, and the British. Let me bring myself back here real quick. Okay. So thank you for joining me, in this show. I hope that it was clear. I know it was kind of, broke up, but it should give you enough for you to be